Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where I'm going to be covering the underused housing tax and how to file that electronically in TaxCycle. My name is Sharka Hoyda. I'm a CPA, CGA, and a Senior Product Manager with TaxCycle. Today, I am going to cover how to create forms from T1, T2, or a T3, how to work with the Track Properties worksheet in the Forms module, how to complete a basic UHT 2900, how to create and import from an Excel template, and how to transmit those UHT returns electronically. Just a quick coverage of some of the legislative updates from the past year. Still due on UHT returns are still due on April 30th of the year following the calendar year where the UHT is applicable. It's still generally applicable to non-resident owners of certain types of Canadian property. I'm not going to go into all of it. There's a whole bunch of technical guidance on CRA's website. You can do your deep dive there. But I do want to note that the definition of excluded owners was expanded for 2023 onwards in Bill C-69. So in 2022, when the legislation first came out, the partners of a partnership, even if they were a Canadian partnership, same with trustees in a Canadian trust and owners of a Canadian corporation, got caught in the filing requirements. That was rectified in Bill C-69. So they are no longer required to file a UHT if they meet the definitions of a specified Canadian partnership, a specified Canadian trust, or a specified Canadian corporation. So that's good news. That reduces some of the burden. The exclusion available is determined as at December 31st of the filing year to determine whether or not the owner is an affected owner for the purposes of the UHT filing. And you can check out CRA's updated website to determine whether or not your client is an affected or an excluded owner as well. Also new in 2023 was the addition of the requirement to file multiple UHT returns in the case where an owner is an owner in multiple capacities. So they might own a property, for instance, in part as an individual and in part through a corporation or some other entity. And that would create a requirement for them to file 2 UHT forms in that case. And so and that legislation was made retroactive to 2022. So if your client gets caught in this requirement where they have multiple capacity, that they own a property in multiple capacities, then you do have to make an amended return for 2022. And also good news, the SIRS was added last year for electronic filing for individuals. And previously we had it for corporations and partnerships. We're still waiting on our ability to add that for trusts. So trusts still have to be paper filed, or trustees of a trust still have to be paper filed. And so here we're just going to start out in a T1. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the demo file that I created here. So in this case, I have a joint return. So I have Marianne and I have a spouse in here as well. And I've also created some rental income. So I've created a T776 on this form and with a couple of properties here that are in Canada. And then I am going to go to data, and there's an option here to create forms from the T1 file. So if I click on that, It's going to grab all of my information from the info worksheet for my two taxpayers. So there I have Marianne and William. It's already selected T1 because that's where I brought it in from, and where they've got residency. And then also on the UHT property worksheet, it's going to bring in those couple of properties that I had set up on their T776s as well in their file. So I've already got most of the information I needed brought in automatically for me from the T1, so I don't have to retype it here. So I have the same thing with the, just open up a new window. So if I go into a T2, I have a similar option here. Under data, create forms. So in the case of a corporation, we don't have those T776s in here. So it's just going to bring in the corporate information into the new forms file that you're creating. So that's one quick way to get your forms file started. Just going to minimize this. And same in, we have the exact same option in T3 as well, all under the data tab. All right, so I get back in my forms file, and on the left-hand side here in my sidebar, I have the UHT property worksheet open. So this is the information I brought in. So now I can just go ahead and put in whatever the other applicable information is here that I need to draw into my file. And ownership type. And I can do that for each property that I have here manually. I can also go into my data tab and create an Excel template from this worksheet and drop that into Excel. It will need a bit of manipulation in the Excel file to make it work here, but that is an option so that you can also import data from an Excel worksheet into this file. Another option is to create your template directly from your UHT 2900. So that's a much more complex worksheet, but that's also possible. If you have a client that has many, many properties and they're all filing in a similar way, then it's probably easier to handle in an Excel worksheet. You just bring in the items that are relevant. So if I were to add some data here, then I can import, create an Excel spreadsheet from here. And it's going to ask me where I want to save that. So then I would go ahead and save it. Let's put it in on my desktop actually for now. And then it's going to ask me to open it. And it does come in looking like this. So again, a little bit of manipulation so that we can make it a multi-form import where if you've seen a T-slip Excel worksheet, they all go across in columns with the data for each UHT would be in a row. We do have a sample template somewhere. If anyone is interested in getting that for a larger import, we can share it with you through our support. And you can just email info@taxcyclethere.com to get a copy of that. Another way to quickly enter data as well will be the smart copy paste, which I'll show you in a minute here. So to complete the UHT form, you'll just go to the election section, UHT 2900, or up here we have the fast find or F4. You can get to UHT 2900 that way. I've already selected my owner here in the top. This is just a little work chart that doesn't print when you print out the form, but it helps to give a very high level quick check if you have an affected owner in this case that's required to file the UHT. But it's not super granular, so I still recommend that you do go and check out those UHT notices on CRA's website. If it's an amended return, you would need to check the amended box. Now I've brought in Mary's information here already, so it's going to drop in everything that came in from the info worksheet into this top section. And it's giving me a review message asking me if I want to add this to my SIRS work form. So that's the special elections and returns filing system. And I'm going to say, yeah, to add that form to the worksheet so that I can transmit it. Or if I have multiple ones, I can wait and then just add all of them all in one go. So I'm just going to go ahead and add Mary here. And this needs to be, so they're living in Canada. I didn't put that on the info worksheet, and that's fine. So if you don't want the override, you would want to make sure that you enter it here on the info worksheet. And then I can remove that. And then if the contact person is the same as the owner, you can select this to copy down that information from the top for the address, or I can select either or here. If I want to drop my information in here, I would go back to the info worksheet, and at the bottom here, select to use prepare. You also have the option to add a signing date in here. So if I always want it to be today's date, I can select that here. And then if we go back to the return, now I should be able to see myself as the preparer to drop in my information. And then the next piece is going to be the citizenship. So let's say Mary has citizenship in the US for the purposes of this return. And we're going to answer no here. And then this is the section that CRA added for multiple capacities. So if I have two capacities, I'm going to file one as an individual and one as whatever other capacity is applicable here for Mary. I'm going to say that for this demo that doesn't apply. And then those property worksheet items that I added are available here in the dropdown. So if I put them in the property worksheet, I can just select the one that's applicable and add it here. It's going to bring in everything that's on this section from the property worksheet. And we're going to say that the husband is, let's make this joint. So let's say that as husband owns 50%. So I would do this on the worksheet, but in this case, I'm just going to show you what that looks like here. And then you need to put in the assessed value and the most recent sales price. So let's say that was 500,000. And it's going to take the greater of those two fields for the purposes of UHT. And then we get down into the section about multiple residential properties and whether or not the spouse is involved. I'm just going to say no to these just to bypass this. And there's an election in here for those residential properties that you'll want to double check if they apply, if you're going to claim those. Then there's primary place of residence. I'm going to say none of these elections or these exemptions apply in this case, just to show you really quickly how we get to the bottom. And so we're not going to take that election. And then we're going to calculate for you whether or not any of the exemptions were applied in the year, and then the tax gets calculated out here. If an exemption applied, then that will show as nil at the bottom. And then you'll see here, because I've added the UHT to be filed through the SIRS filing option, UHT 183 gets created. So if I click on that, you do need to get this signed in order to get authorization to electronically transmit this return. So you want to just double check that all of the client's information drops in here. They do look for a position here, so I would recommend you can just drop in owner if it's an individual or not applicable. And then this is ready to, I guess we need our date. 2025 today. And then I can print this out for signature. Now to make another one for William, it's going to be exactly the same property. So I can just go ahead and right click on here, smart copy, and then go to a new UHT 2900, right click on here again and paste. And then all I need to do is just update this to William. And now I've got all of William's information in here. Everything else will be the same from the original. So another way to do this is if you have a couple of UHT forms to complete and they're all using the same information basically for the exemption properties, or there's enough crossover, you can select the ones that are going to be the same for everybody and just smart copy and paste a bunch of those in here and then fill in the individual details for the ones where applicable. Now, if you do have an Excel template and you want to import it, it's the same process as creating that template in the first place. You're going to go back up to the data and you're going to go to Excel import and you're going to import the Excel worksheet here. So now I just wanted to quickly show you how the transmit works. So I have another file I'm going to open. We're going to bring that over into here. So when I clicked on that review message to add to SIRS, it's going to create a line here on my SIRS transmission service worksheet. If I needed to add another one manually, I can also do that here. It'll give me the drop-down list of everything that's available to add into the service for filing. You can file multiple filings at the same time. So if I had finished creating the one for both parties in the file, I could add them both here and transmit both at the same time. Just need to check one thing here at the top. Yeah. Okay, so now I can just go to my, well, assuming I have authorization. So first we're going to want to print. So you can print your client copies, get your authorization that you need. And then once we've got that back, we can go to the transmit tab. I'm in a ready to transmit state. So I'm just going to open this up, say I have read and agreed to all of the terms, and I'm going to go ahead and click transmit. And CRA's test site has accepted my filing in this case, and I get a confirmation number back for me here. And all of the filing information. It will also show in history, like we do with every other filing, if you need a reference from there. So that is how we electronically file the underused housing tax information return in TaxCycle Forms. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope you found the content helpful. And if you want to connect with other tax preparers or get ongoing get in on some ongoing tax discussions, I invite you to join TaxCycle's discussion board at protaxcommunity.com. Or if there is a topic that you'd like us to cover in our webinars at some future point, then please email info@taxcycle.com and give us your suggestion there. I wish you a productive and as stress-free as possible tax season. Bye for now.